3 News Now this week.
The message was made clear.
Stratcom, you are singularly the most important command in the United States military.
Top U.S. military officials and state leaders gathered at Offutt Air Force Base Monday morning to dedicate their new $1.3 billion facility to General Curtis LeMay, whose name graced the old Stratcom building as well.
If anyone should ever wonder about the future of Offutt Air Force Base, or what kind of missions we'll do here, or whether or not the local community will continue to support the base and its missions, once again, they need look no further than right here to this brand new command and control facility.
The new facility will be Stratcom's operations center, as well as connecting the command with the rest of the military around the world. It also lays the groundwork for the future, putting in an IT infrastructure that will allow Stratcom's leaders to adapt as times and technology change.
And I can't tell you exactly what the missions of Stratcom will be in 2 years or 5 years or 20 years, but I bet they're going to be a little bit different than they are today.
Attention to orders. By direction of the President.
There was also a changing of the guard on who will command the new Stratcom facility. General John Hyten handed over duties to Admiral Chaz Richard.
Sir, I assume command.
Admiral Richard, who formerly commanded U.S. submarine forces, says we're facing threats we haven't seen in decades, and that the military will need to move fast to curtail them.
It's a competition. If you can move faster than your competitors, you have an advantage. That's what I'm most, I don't stay awake at night very much, right? But when I do, that's what I'm thinking about.
He's also served 2 separate stints at Stratcom. He says he's been preparing 37 years for this moment, and he asked to come back.
I've just not seen a place that almost whatever you throw in front of this command, they will improvise, adapt, and overcome and find you a way to get through it. And I think that is a part of being in the heartland.
The new Stratcom facility is not yet fully operational. Admiral Richard hopes that is coming very soon. Reporting in Offutt, John Kipper, 3 News Now.
This time of year is bittersweet for John Flores. For him, like many of us, the holidays are a time for family.
My mom and dad passed. My sons are all on the coast, and so we don't have any close family, and this almost makes it seem like a little family outing.
And now a bitter moment, as another member of the family is leaving.
I says, what? Really?
But this is the sweet part.
And the lady says, your tree made it. You're going to be the tree.
The family member that's lived in John's front yard for about 30 years now is finally leaving home.
They call it Big Blue because it's a blue spruce and it is big.
Big Blue won the competition of a lifetime.
Every year we have somewhere around 40 to 50 trees on our list, and we go look at them all.
And out of all those trees, Big Blue was declared the winner, the Christmas tree that goes up in Durham Museum.
Well, the original tradition dates back to 1931 when our building, Union Station, was a train station, and Union Pacific used to cut the tree down in the Pacific Northwest and bring it into Omaha via train.
But now, residents like John donate their trees.
Just a tradition, family tradition.
Peter Gantnier is a retired Union Pacific employee. His years of experience,
37 years,
make him an expert in taking these trees down. And although some things have changed,
equipment's a lot nicer, trucks are a lot nicer,
some things never change.
I used to work for the railroad and do that tree with them, do the tree with them all the time. And my grandson, he came when he was a baby to see me, so now every year we come together.
Once the 45-foot spruce came down, Big Blue made the 18-mile journey from John's home to the museum, first class. Now, as it hangs inside the museum, all there's left to do is reflect on the memories.
So amazing.
David M. Mangelsons will spend the remainder of the week decorating this tree in preparation for the tree lighting ceremony that will happen on Black Friday from 4 to 8 p.m. Reporting in Omaha, Rudolph Sinaida, 3 News Now.
Well, just 1 week ago, we were honoring those who have served our country. But one program is continuing to support veterans throughout the month with a program that treats vets with a free lunch. Now, joining us to talk about the Buy a Lunch program is Tyler Pashong of State Farm. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy Monday to you.
Oh, well, thank you. So tell me a little about how you got started with the Buy a Vet a Lunch program.
Yeah, absolutely. So It started, I was at a event with MP Dodge honoring veterans. It was a really cool event, and I was like, man, we're gonna come back to our office. We're gonna do a Facebook post on Veterans Day, like everyone else is gonna do. Like, there's got to be more that we can do. There has to be more that we can do. So we had a team meeting in the office, and we love to eat in my office. We kind of have a family atmosphere, and we spend a lot of time around the table, and so we came to the conclusion, hey, we could buy them lunch. And so that's how it initially started. Then I put a post out on Facebook saying, hey, we're going to buy 20 lunches for veterans. And if anyone else wants to support that, they can Venmo us money, and we'll put their name on the card and say, hey, here's a lunch provided by this person in Texas, this person in South Carolina. And we've had a overwhelming response from that as well. And so it's been a really cool start to the event so far.
Because you said people from all over the country are now donating.
All over the country, yeah. Just showing how much they care about the veterans. Yeah, people from North and South Dakota, people from Minnesota, Texas, South Carolina, have all sent money just to say thank you to the veterans in our area, which is awesome.
Now, you've had only a couple come in so far. You just started again last week. What are they kind of saying when they get to come in and get that gift card?
They're very appreciative. I think anytime you get a free lunch, you appreciate it. But I think it's always good to just know that people care, and I think they really feel that. I think they feel that in our office, and conversely, I think it's important that my team gets to converse with the veterans, the people who have served our country, and give an opportunity for us to say thank you again, not just with a card and with a free lunch, but verbally to introduce ourselves and just say thank you. So it's been a great thing so far, and we're excited to expand it now moving forward.
Awesome. And what are the details? So what do they need to do or bring when they come into your office and get that lunch? And can they eat anywhere? How does the program work?
Yeah, so it's probably the easiest program to to get in the world. This isn't something that is going to be challenging for them. All you have to do is just come in and introduce yourself. Say what branch of the military you're from. Give us an opportunity to say hello, and we're going to give you a card. Actually, it's a card, it's a thank you card, and there's just $20 in cash. So if you spend it on an oil change, I'm not going to tell anyone. The purpose is lunch, but you can spend it however you want. It's an opportunity, again, to say thank you, and that's all it is, really.
And you said, and they promised I won't be selling them insurance.
Yes. I mean, it's 2019, and I work for State Farm, so I know people think like, okay, there's got to be something more to it. There is nothing more to it, I promise you, than that. We just truly want to say thank you. It means a lot to us, that the work that they do. So this is just an opportunity to say thank you. So we will not talk about State Farm. We will not talk about deductibles, I promise you.
Awesome. Tyler, well, thank you so much for doing this program and for coming on the show this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, the Lunch for Veterans program began last Monday and will continue until supplies last. Now, you can stop by Tyler Pashong State Farm office, which is at 10535 Pacific Street in Omaha. Just again, introduce yourself as a veteran and receive your gift card.
I choose this excerpt. This window should not be there.
Heated debates Tuesday morning outside the Union for Contemporary Art in North Omaha.
It hurts me because we see it and hear it every day. They're already getting loud with it.
Vanessa German's exhibition called Sometimes We Cannot Be With Our Bodies has been at the gallery since September. But only recently, people noticed the N-word visible from the sidewalk and got upset.
Vanessa German is a Black artist who has created this work as a testament to speak out against the violence that has been wreaked upon Black, Brown, and Native people in America. The text that people are getting upset about is meant to prepare you for the rest of the exhibition when you get inside.
I saw the exhibit. I'm giving the artist the benefit of the doubt, which is why I didn't get it finished in the first place. And after seeing the exhibit, I put it all in context, and it created a narrative for me.
Monday night, Jay Myers told us that kind of language belongs inside with the rest of the art.
You make a decision to go indoors and see the exhibit. You don't make that decision with it being displayed to the public out on the side of the building.
North Omaha, which is a predominantly African-American community, has experienced traumatic experiences with the N-word. And so for that to be on the facade of a building, I don't think that's the correct way to be artistic.
Stephen Abraham came down here Tuesday to share his concern with the union's executive director and rallied lots of support.
Come down here with this trash and take the worst word. It is a horrible word. It is an insulting word. It is a fighting word, and sometimes it is a killing word.
Ms. German felt that it was important for us to stand in the face of that word, as it is important for us to stand in reckoning of the violence that that word holds for Black and brown people.
After meeting with Abraham, McQueen Shue agreed to put a sign on the facade of the building warning the quote displayed in the window may be offensive and a trigger for some people. They will not take the exhibit down early or blur the word because she feels that is censorship. In Omaha, Stephanie Nolte, 3 News Now.
City of Omaha is rejecting a bid on the next contract with the city's recycling processor. Mayor Stothert says she felt First Star Fiber's bid of $4 million for 5 years was well above what she thought it would be. She pointed out how under the deal, the company charges the city more than it charges other customers.
Competition is good, and I think First Star Fiber felt like that they were the only show in town, and that whatever they agreed to in this bid, that we would have to agree to, and we don't. And that's why we feel like it was unfair. I feel like it was unfair, and that it needs to be rejected and rebid.
The mayor says the city might consider offering a longer contract similar to the waste hauler contract with FCC Environmental to attract more bidders. The recycling contract is for processing the materials after they're picked up. It would start at the beginning of 2021.
A little discussion. The Omaha City Council approved adding all vaping products to the existing 3% occupation tax. This includes vape juice and vaping devices. Vape store owners asked the council to remove the devices, but they ultimately kept them in. They did remove nicotine patches, lozenges, and other products that have nicotine in them, but are used to help people quit.
Things that are recognized as smoking cessation products, according to the FDA. I think that's important, that we don't want to discourage people. And there's a lot of people that sell those and only those products and not anything that we're addressing.
The tobacco and now vape tax was set to expire at the end of 2022. But the council today got rid of that requirement, and now it will go on indefinitely, even though some aren't too happy about that.
The lone no vote was Councilmember Amy Melton. She wanted a heads up that the vote was happening before the council decided to tax tobacco and vape users indefinitely.
I wish that we would have known about it before now, for time to discuss.
Now, Councilmember Rich Pauls voted to get rid of the 2022 sunset on the tax, but generally thinks they're a good idea because they force future councils to decide if they're necessary and to keep them around.
To me, sunsets have value because it causes us to rethink those down the line and different council members.
Reporting in Omaha, John Kipper, 3 News Now.
Should the mayor and city council get a pay raise? Some city council members think so. They discussed a 3% annual raise at today's meeting. Councilmember Amy Melton wants to amend the proposed ordinance to raise the council and the mayor's salaries using economic factors, not just give an automatic 3% raise. Most of the council seem to favor some kind of raise, including Rich Pauls, who says the low salaries discourage some from running.
Because maybe we want people to take these positions who do not have a lot of money, but if it's a decent salary, they may strive for that. Get away from this idea that you have to be a person of means to do some of those positions.
Councilmember Chris Jerem wants to raise the tax at a steady 3% so the public can easily keep track of their salaries.
Trial was supposed to begin Tuesday for the city against Yale Park landlord Kay Anderson. Instead, he walked out of court with great relief.
We knew that we would prevail.
Douglas County Judge Grant Forsberg approves a defense motion that will keep the inspection search warrant from being used in the case because the city didn't ask Anderson for permission to inspect his properties, which they're required to do. The warrant indicates Anderson denied them access. That means all the evidence collected during the search warrant can't be heard in court.
There's been no justification for this. The city has known that all along. Why they've continued to pursue it is beyond me, probably for their landlord registration or whatever. But there's never been any justification for this, and they've always known it.
They didn't follow the law. They didn't follow the requirements of the statute. They lied to the issuing judge, and they also made misstatements to the issuing judge.
In September 2018, the city told 500 residents they had to leave the apartments for health and safety violations. The city says they will appeal and seek a decision in district court.
I still think Kay Anderson had an apartment complex with multiple code violations, and I think we should have a trial to flush those all out.
Anderson says he's still working to make all the repairs necessary, and 50 units have been rented out again.
I just love the refugees. I love being with them. We're very glad to have them back in their home, and they're very glad to be here. We'll complete the repairs and reoccupy all the units.
Judge Forsberg agrees to hear the city's appeal on the suppression of the evidence. That will happen on November 27th. Kay Anderson doesn't have to appear. Reporting in downtown Omaha, Jake Wazakowski, 3 News Now.
When you're ready, go for it. Fire has been lit.
You can call it work training, but it's a little more intense than just that. Papillion Fire had a controlled house fire Tuesday morning, used specifically for training purposes.
The structure was scheduled for demolition anyway. We were able to get into it to be able to get some crews some time in a actual house.
And they invited us out to see the training firsthand after we geared up.
Thank you.
And got a rundown of the rules.
Just making sure everybody are on B2, channel B2.
It was time to burn the house. Rooms were set on fire one by one as different crews went in.
It's kind of more just practicing the trade and fine-tuning things.
For the newer candidates, it's a great learning opportunity.
Learning how to get down, move with the hose. You can see how the fire builds. And see how you need to react depending on what's going on.
Ferguson has done around 3 to 5 of these real-life training exercises with different departments. But this is her first with Papillion. Being part of the fire department for just a couple months now, Stephanie is the first female Papillion firefighter ever.
It's pretty cool. I think it can inspire a lot of young females around the city and hopefully further than that.
This specific fire example could happen to anyone.
We're simulating a fire that occurred in a bedroom. It could be anything from space heaters, candles, electrical, too many cords plugged into an electrical outlet that causes a fire.
And with Thanksgiving being a vulnerable time for house fires,
holidays coming up, lots of cooking going on. You can always have increase in kitchen fires.
This could also be a good example for all of us to be extra cautious. Although this training happens only a couple times a year, the skills that the firefighters learn are vital to real-life situations. Reporting in Papillion, Rudolph Sinaida, 3 News Now.
Students in Denison, Iowa say they want to see action from the school district. It all stems from allegations that a teacher said the N-word multiple times in a classroom. This morning, students who say they've had enough walked out. 3 News Now reporter Sydney Gray went to Denison and has the story.
Unfair. DHS is unfair. DHS is unfair. DHS is unfair.
They don't do anything about it. That's why they're all mad. That's why I'm mad. There's nothing ever done about it.
Freshman Bolnice Rifen says events leading up to this student protest have frustrated her classmates for a while.
We're hoping to have our voices heard and to have Ms. Holt out of here.
Students say they're upset with American history teacher Crystal Holt. They say she used the N-word during a history lesson about the death penalty. She explained her use of the word to a local radio station in an interview that was shared by her husband, Iowa State Representative Stephen Holt, on Facebook.
The case deals with racism, and I asked why they put hate crimes on their board, and one of the students said because in the reading it says he used pejorative terms. And another student in that group said, what does pejorative mean? And I said, it means derogatory. And the student said, what does derogatory mean? And I said, it means terms that are not nice to race, and continued trying to explain that. And I said, he used the N-word, and then I said he used the word.
Students say they don't think she needed to use it, that they understood without the word.
I get it was context, but you could have said the N-word. You didn't have to say with a hard ER.
Students from all grades walked out in protest of the situation. They say this isn't the first time it's happened.
All I've known is that she has said this racial slur back in the past, and in a few months, she's repeated herself for several years.
She has done this multiple times in multiple different places.
Anna Navarro was one of the first to walk out.
It's 2019, almost 2020. We should have gotten rid of this a while ago. And it just keeps happening. We don't want that in the U.S.
Some want Holt gone.
She should be fired because she had no right to say that.
The school's principal and superintendent eventually came out and spoke with students.
Let's go find a time that we can talk, and let's start the healing process and start moving us forward.
Rifen says the word hurts.
You know, you feel really small whenever you're here because you're just, that one black girl in the class. I can say the N-word to you, because you're the only black girl. Let me say the N-word to you. So it makes me feel great, Yeah. There's so many people willing to stand up for it.
But despite the division the word creates, Rifen says her classmates' support empowered her.
I feel like inspired, I feel like I can finally stand up for myself.
In Denison, Iowa, Sydney Gray, 3 News Now.
The building itself is an icon.
The Blackstone Hotel opened more than 100 years ago.
We are trying to revitalize it back to its original grandeur, and so a lot of that is bringing the historic lobby back to life.
The most significant change, the name. Trademark rules forced it to become the Kipton Cottonwood, but developer Jay Lund says it's a rebirth.
There's the famous Cottonwood Room. That now is the hotel's namesake, so that was one of the most famous bars in all the land for many, many years, so we're bringing that back to life. That's in the lower level of the hotel along with the steakhouse.
Despite a new name, Lund says they're working to keep some of its original architecture.
We see this as a new chapter for the building. It has not been a hotel for more than 40 years, and this is a significant investment that is being made.
The new space will feature an additional wing to the west of the original building. It'll include 205 rooms, 15 of them are suites, and more than 13,000 square feet for event space.
When they walk in the lobby of the hotel, I think the immediate reaction should be wow. Where has this building been, for the last 40 years?
Lund says there's already a ton of buzz, and at least 10 people have booked events for next year.
We're just really excited for everybody to see the finished product.
Developers say the hotel is set to open by spring of 2020. Their hope is to be fully functioning by the College World Series. In studio, Sydney Gray, 3 News Now.
Officer Quinn is ready for duty.
She's a very friendly dog. She gets along around other people very well.
Ready to go? It was love at first sight for her partner, Detective Roy Howell.
After the night with her, I was like, this dog's unbelievable. Quinn.
The two are partners by day, roommates by night.
Kids are excited, and my wife's spoiling the heck out of her.
But unlike most canines,
come up. Up.
Officer Quinn has a special set of skills.
Her sole purpose is electronic detections.
Technology gives off a scent that most of us can't smell, but dogs can. So Officer Quinn's role is to smell out things in a house such as iPhones, USBs, or even SD cards.
We had a couple of cases where I believe we may have missed something. A dog who could pick up that odor would be able to say, hey, there's something here, you need to look here.
The electronic storage device canine helped put away former Subway spokesman Jared Fogle. They've been used in fraud, espionage, and homicide cases.
Well, tell me one thing that doesn't leave a digital footprint in this world. You can't walk down the street anymore without being on somebody's camera. Ring doorbell.
Quinn can detect things blind to the human nose and the human eye.
I want to get her to be that dog that can find something 18 inches under the wall, or 18 inches under the water, or something behind the wall, or under the carpet.
Quinn's Nebraska's first electronic sniffing canine and the 30th in the nation.
I'm hoping she and I will make a big difference within the state.
But today, this 2-year-old pup is still getting used to her new home.
She's an unbelievable dog. Truly, she is.
Reporting in Bellevue, Phil Bergman, 3 News Now.
The pros make it look so smooth.
So we're going to lift our hips up.
My butt up?
But sliding the stone to the right spot?
Yep.
Okay.
Your butt's attached to your hips.
Gotcha.
Takes a lot of practice.
Oh my gosh. Whoa. Oh, okay.
There you go. Well, not the splits.
Derek Rao has been curling for years, starting the sport when he was just 5 years old.
I went out with a waddle flop where I grabbed the stone with both hands and waddled out to the hog line and let it go.
Back then, we had a facility dedicated to just curling. Now curlers share with Baxter Arena. But with the Olympic trials coming back to Omaha, curlers hope they can get more people to see just how cool this sport is and raise enough cash to get their own ice.
We're kind of capped out with our capacity. We've grown the club to well over 200 members now.
And it's not just about the availability of ice. It's the type of ice itself.
We do put a bit of a texture on the ice to make the stones play properly, and that's not ideal for skating. So they will come through and have to take that off with the Zamboni and kind of get the ice ready for the next activity.
Like sweeping on the ice. Come on! Curlers hope the trials will give their sport a boost.
Instead of going here, may end up here because you're sweeping.
So if you decide to give this sport a go,
give me a second.
Get ready to be breathless. And a little sore.
Okay.
Oh, something's not right.
But if you give it a go,
release.
Your stone will get gliding in no time.
Ooh.
See? The health department is warning anyone who purchased non-organic fresh blackberries from any of the Fresh Thyme locations in Omaha from September 9th to September 30th to throw them away if you still have them. The health department says those blackberries were the cause of 4 Douglas County cases of hepatitis A, a virus that can cause liver disease.
This is by no means the fault of the grocery chain, but the culprit is in the supply chain. I am sure there will be more cases discovered over the next weeks that are linked to this outbreak.
The first case was reported on October 15th, impacting people from 14 to 73 years old. Fresh Thyme says all the contaminated fruit is now gone from the shelves. And if you have ate those blackberries since then, contact your local health provider. Reporting in studio, John Madden, 3 News Now.
Sarpy County authorities unload hundreds of stolen items taken from a storage unit and the home of Brett Nelson. They're worth tens of thousands of dollars.
What else we got here? Portable air conditioners, more shop vacs, lighting equipment.
All kinds of construction tools and things supposed to be installed in homes under construction in southwest Omaha. Sarpy investigators say they noticed a large number of construction site thefts and tracked the suspect down because he was pawning the equipment.
The amount of property that's been taken from hardworking people that really is preventing them from doing their jobs. It's delaying the homes being completed where those, the new homeowners are wanting to get in their houses. I mean, it's affecting them as well.
The 38-year-old Nelson is arrested and currently at the Sarpy County Jail for 8 counts of felony burglary. Don Ziesel has been a masonry contractor for 40 years. He says in the last 5 months he's had his stuff stolen twice, almost a third time.
I'm disgusted. I mean, we're out here, like I said earlier, trying to earn a living, and they're taking your livelihood away from you, and I just get really upset.
Don isn't sure if any of his tools were seized, but authorities are trying to identify whose property it is. And just like with electronics, investigators say it's important to write down serial numbers of your tools so you can easily identify what's yours. Many of the items don't have identifying marks or could have been in Nelson's hands for months. They want contractors to get in touch if they've had anything stolen recently.
So we're hoping contractors out there will watch and make contact with us.
Reporting in Sarpy County, Jake Wazakowski, 3 News Now.
Harry, could you look up and say hello?
Glo Leiferman is living her best life.
I feel like I've died and gone to heaven. It's like resort living.
Since January, the former homeowners lived here at the Lakeside Lofts, a senior living complex in West Omaha.
I like to be around other people. It gets kind of lonely if you're living alone.
When you're home alone, very often it's easy to get lonely. It's easy for things to start to retract. Your world starts to retract as you get older.
Senior loneliness is a big problem come wintertime.
43% of seniors are lonely in the United States, and that's a huge epidemic that's facing our senior population.
With community-style dining, pools, and workout facilities, the goal is to bring residents out of their rooms and into common spaces.
Doesn't look like a hospital, doesn't feel like a hospital, isn't a nursing home anymore. It's really a place that you can reinvent and find your next chapter.
It's great. It's great. I've made just some wonderful friends. Everybody's really, really nice.
For those with elderly relatives, a little effort can go a long way.
Reach out to somebody. I mean, that's a great opportunity for you to reconnect with somebody that you love, an excuse just to pick up the phone and call a friend, or look for an opportunity to reinvent yourself and try something new.
And it's autographed, to Dan and Gloria from Louis Armstrong.
Glow isn't going to feel lonely this winter season.
No, I adjusted beautifully. I don't have any regrets at all.
And don't expect her to be moving anytime soon.
Two of my grandkids asked if they couldn't move in with me.
They like it so much?
They love it.
Reporting in Omaha, Phil Bergman, 3 News Now. If you were at a buffet table, what food item would the long snapping be?
A salad.
A salad?
Yeah. It's like one of those things like nobody wants to have, but like everyone needs to have it.
What player would be the worst?
I've always tried to get Adrian to do it, and he refuses to do it.
Adrian doesn't want a long snap? Think he'd be good?
I think he'd be decent, because you kind of have to be good at like trying to throw the ball.
You're from Grosse Pointe, Michigan.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Grosse Pointe Blank?
I have seen Grosse Pointe Blank. That was like one of the first things that like my parents were like, hey, like we're gonna move to this town, you should watch this.
You always celebrate with the kicker after a kick. What's your go-to handshake with them?
Give me one of these, we'll come back and go like that.
Simple but classic.
Yeah.
What would your touchdown dance be?
I don't know, probably just to hit one of these guys and then just head off and celebrate with the team.
What's your favorite song?
Beer Never Broke My Heart.
Can we hear a line?
Long neck, ice cold beer never broke my heart. Yeah, that one.
Hey,
yeah,
there we go. You got your degree already. If you could go back to college and start from the beginning, what major would you do?
Well, I changed my major 5 times, so.
5 times?
So I started off as an animal science major because I wanted to be a vet. I went from there to ag business to poli-sci, and poli-sci to history, and then history to ad PR.
Cat guy or dog guy?
Dog guy.
If you could name a dog, what would you name it?
Bandit.
Bandit?
Yeah.
That was a fast answer. Why Bandit?
I don't know, I've just thought about this before, and if I was to get a dog, I would get a lab and just name it Bandit.
If you could have an autobiography based on your life, what would you call it?
The Shortcomings of Chase Urbuck.
Hey Chase, thanks so much for joining me. This was?
Fill in the blank.
5 years we had maybe 10 assessments. Last year we had over 300.
You heard that right. Typically, city contractors would be forced to remove snow from a few Omaha sidewalks every winter. With the snowfall we saw last year, they had over 300 removals.
Until last year, this really wasn't a major problem.
On top of the city workload, there were other issues. Some residents were fined over $1,000 to have their sidewalk cleared. This year, it should be better, with the bids coming in at half to a third of the cost, but it's still pricey. If there's 1 to 6 inches on the ground, they'll be charged just over $3 a square foot. 6 to 12 inches, and it's going to be $4.60. And if it snows over a foot, it'll be $6.90, averaging out to anywhere between $250 and $750 for a residential home. City engineer Mike Kleffner hopes they charge people as little as possible.
This isn't something we want to do. This is completely complaint basis. My staff would rather be doing a lot of other things than going out there and babysitting somebody clearing snow.
As Kleffner mentioned, it's a complaint-based system. Once the city gets a complaint, they give a 24-hour warning, and then a few days later, they send the contractor out. Neighbors can't file complaints until the plows are done throughout the city.
We will make an effort to communicate with the public to at least let them know that that's when the clock starts ticking.
So after it snows and you're out walking in your neighborhood and maybe you realize that a neighbor still hasn't shoveled, one Omaha City Council member hopes that you first knock on their door before complaining to the city.
I would just encourage people to maybe before you make the city the first call, check on your neighbor. I mean, we are a nice city, and just see if maybe your neighbor needs a little help.
Reporting in Omaha, John Kipper, 3 News Now.
It was a moment nearly a year in the making. A father reunited with his kids and wife after serving our country overseas in Afghanistan for the last 10 months.
It's always wonderful to come home to people who care about you, obviously, so yeah, it's a great feeling.
And that love was felt for Warrant Officer Michael Mades. He was greeted with those who care for him the most at an emotional homecoming at Epley Airfield.
Incredible! I was keeping the urge not to run.
His proud mom and dad in attendance as well.
Waited for and longed for, and it's finally here, and we're very grateful. That's all I can say. We're very grateful, and
thank the Lord for answering prayers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
As for his wife of 13 years, Jacqueline, she's been through this before. This was Michael's 5th deployment.
This is the first time with the children being older and understanding what's going on, and it's the first time that we've been back in our home state.
So that's been another level of support. I mean, with our school and our community and church friends, we would not have made it.
As she said, the time in between, it wasn't easy. Terry and Monica maids stepped up to help their daughter-in-law while their son was away. However, they do admit there was a silver lining.
But it's time that I can share with the grandkids, and now Michael can get some full time with his family, and we're fine. We're just ecstatic that he's back safe and sound.
Although he's been away for quite a while, the Maids family is looking forward to getting home, cooking dinner, and just getting into the routine of being a normal family.
I think we're just gonna hang out and be a family. So since we haven't gotten to do that in a while, but yeah, that's what we're looking forward to.
And that's exactly what the Maids family did. They went home as one. In Omaha, Kent Lutzen, 3 News Now.
Brandon Tina was murdered after some of his friends realized he was transgender. Today is Transgender Day of Remembrance, and it's a day to remember people like Brandon who were killed because of the gender they identified with. Now, joining us now to talk about the transgender community and some of the challenges they face is Miss Nebraska All-American Goddess Avalisa Gallo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me.
So, for people who aren't aware, what is Miss Nebraska All-American Goddess?
Miss Nebraska All-American Goddess is a local title for a national pageant that's really cool and really inclusive. It's an LGBTQ type of pageant where you're judged on talent and gown and things like that, but it's a really amazing system that was founded in 2012.
And you've had a really unique journey. Can you share a little bit on your story?
Yeah, so I did the every child thing where you go to school and then you start to find out who you are. I always knew who I was, but I just kind of hid it because it made other people uncomfortable. I went into the military after a couple of years of college, and then after college went straight into the military, and then had this decision that I needed to make about who I wanted to be. So when I got out of the military, I decided to transition, and since then have been, really blessed with opportunities like this to educate people and help people understand.
Why is education so important?
I think it's because the problem that so many people have is that they don't understand and they don't know. And when you don't know how things are offensive, and you don't know how things lead to hatred that leads to things like today, the Transgender Day of Remembrance for the people that have been murdered.
And we talked a little bit about trans women of color and the amount of violence they face and some of the challenges that they face. Can you share a little bit with us on what you see?
So worldwide, 331 trans people have been killed this year. 30 of those people were here in America, and the majority of those were trans women, specifically Black trans women. I'm not sure why exactly trans women are targeted, but when you look at the pyramid of privilege, trans women of color are all the way at the bottom, and so they're just not in the best position to achieve things the same way others are.
What is some of the adversity that you've faced when you transitioned?
I've had a really lucky transition. Luckily, I'm palatable, I guess is the best word for it. So I've had a pretty good transition, but I have had trouble finding work. I have had trouble finding a stable place to live. Things that people take for granted are legally, you're allowed to legally discriminate against trans people based on their gender identity.
And we have an event tonight that we want to talk about, as well as an event that you will be on a panel for. So before we go, we want to say tonight First Unitarian Church is hosting a day of remembrance and resilience. Now that church is at 3114 Harney Street, and doors open at 6:30, and that program starts at 7. And then next week, Avalisa will be on a panel talking about the transgender community, and there will also be a candlelight vigil for the lives lost to anti-transgender violence. Now that event is again November 26th at the Union for Contemporary Art. That starts at 5:30. Avalisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
American government teacher Crystal Holt won't be in the classroom this week, and this comes after her use of the N-word during a lesson. The school board made the decision following a heated protest outside of the school Tuesday morning. Students at the protest said on more than one occasion, Holt Holt used the word during her lesson, but Holt defended herself. She claims she used the word as part of a lesson regarding the death penalty. And while many students and some parents were angered by her actions, plenty of community members defended Holt's actions.
In the short term come of this, Crystal should be reinstated immediately to her job. She should never have been removed from her job, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Two, obviously, the dialogue's been open this evening.
One student who was inside the classroom when she said it tells us he doesn't want Holt to lose her job, but he does want the school to handle these kinds of situations better. Well, Holt was not at the meeting last night, but the board says it won't take any further action until their investigation is complete. In studio, Sydney Gray, 3 News Now this morning.
On Wednesday, Sarpy County investigators lay out everything seized from a man suspected of breaking into a lot of homes that were under construction. Hundreds of tools and home fixtures worth tens of thousands of dollars. Thursday, more than half the items claimed.
We had probably a good 20 nail guns and drills that were identified, so these are just the remainders.
About 30 contractors looked through things that may have been stolen off their job sites. Some found most of their items, while others didn't find anything.
I mean, they're hardworking people and they make an honest living, and it's not very unfortunate for them to have their items stolen. So it's good to see them get their stuff back.
38-year-old Brett Nelson is charged with 8 counts of felony burglary. The arrest warrant indicates since the end of September, Nelson went to several Omaha pawn shops 28 times to sell stolen merchandise. Investigators used Leads Online, a tool that quickly identifies sellers and what they've sold to different stores.
I would say roughly approximately about 30 ladders he pawned, which is a lot for somebody. I don't know of an individual that owns that many ladders. So that kind of is what set this off, was he was pawning that many ladders.
It's just more efficient, having pictures and fingerprints.
John Deneen, the general manager of Saul's Jewelry and Loans, says they've been using Leads Online for a few years. He says they take photos of everyone that sells and what they're pawning, which he says deters people from bringing in stolen items.
So that's why we work very close with the Omaha Police Department, especially the Pawn Detail Unit, who's just absolutely amazing to work with. And we want to work hand in hand with them, because if we do have items that are stolen that come in here, we want to make sure they get back into the hands of the rightful owner.
Jake Wozakowski, 3 News Now.
If you had any tools or home fixtures stolen from a build site in southwest Omaha, contact Sarpy County. That number is 402-593-2304.
When people head out for the holidays and leave their homes, many take extra steps to keep them safe.
If somebody's leaving their home for a period of time, it's always a good idea to leave lights on, either have your mail stopped, maybe have a neighbor or a friend pick up your mail for you.
But the Sarpy County Sheriff's Office can do even more. It's called Vacation Watch.
If a citizen signs up for it, they provide us with quite a bit of information about things that should be going on at the home, so deputies have something to look for when they show up.
All you have to do is fill out an application online, state how many days you're leaving, and deputies will check on your home while you're gone every day.
Gives them a added sense of security, hopefully, and has an extra set of eyes checking on their house.
Catherine Kelly, who is married to a KMTV photographer, uses the service while they're on vacation. They feel safer knowing that the sheriff's office is looking out for their home.
When you're away from home, unless you have a security system or you have cameras, and even then you don't have the ability to act. You can't do anything if you're away from the house.
And there are not many requirements needed when signing up.
It's very easy to do.
There's not any requirement other than that you need to be, gone out of town.
Reporting in Sarpy County, Rudolph Sinida, 3 News Now.
I've been looking forward to this for all night long.
Season 513.
A world of fighting crime and fires paused Thursday morning for some very special visits.
My name is Todd. Hello, sir. And this is my friend Dan. He's the fire chief and I am the police chief. And we came by specifically to see you today.
Omaha fire and police chiefs made dozens of children's days with a quick visit.
You and me are just the same now, okay?
Yeah, there you go. I'm really glad to hear you're a firefighter for Halloween. And I brought you something, too, to help with your costume, okay?
Mom says this is just what 5-year-old Emery needed to brighten her day.
She gets poked and prodded at a lot today, or anytime we're at the hospital, so it's good to have a little change of atmosphere and get some happy thoughts.
Do you like the Saints? So do I. It's my favorite team. See, this is a water bottle for you. You're welcome, buddy.
It's hard being in here all day, and any kind of person that comes in besides a doctor is always very exciting for them.
It's the greatest feeling in the world. I mean, knowing what we do on a daily basis and some of the trauma and some of the hard things that we deal with, the opportunity to receive that feedback, that happy smile, that excitement to see us really makes us feel good in a job that you don't always get that.
Still, a little friendly competition never hurt anyone.
If you need anything, just call the fire chief, okay?
Tell me you like the police department better.
I do.
Yeah. You do?
In Omaha, Stephanie Nolte, 3 News Now.
And to find out that they're a target of an acquisition was very much a surprise.
The news of TD Ameritrade and Charles Schwab possibly becoming one took the business world by surprise, including for Dr. David Volkman.
It's going to make for a much bigger, stronger firm with Schwab and TD joining up.
Schwab was in the news recently for dropping commissions to 0% for online trading of stocks, which then hurt the business of their competitors. And for a company known for making money, a move like this makes sense.
When they saw the equity prices drop on companies out there, E-Trade, TD Ameritrade, they saw there was a good opportunity to pick up a very strong, good company like TD Ameritrade and bring it into its fold.
Fox Business is reporting the potential deal is worth $26 billion. And with any business merger, there's always a concern for a loss of jobs. But according to Volkman, that worry should just be for upper-level jobs like CEOs.
I'd be very surprised if we lost a lot of positions out of TD Ameritrade. Okay. They've got that new office building. We have a strong workforce here in Omaha. I would be surprised if Schwab would move a lot of those people outside.
If this move was to be completed, investors could see more benefits with extra diversity and better payouts. But for those who have called TD Ameritrade an Omaha company since the 70s when it was founded, that may not be worth it.
Saying that TD Ameritrade is an Omaha-based company has been something that we could brag about. So we were pleased to brag about that. So to lose that Omaha as the base for a major company like TD Ameritrade is disconcerting.
In Omaha, John Madden, 3 News Now.
The shortage of a vital chemotherapy drug has become a nationwide issue, and it's also a problem here in Shenandoah, Iowa, as the mother of a 2-year-old girl is now fighting to make sure her daughter can finish treatment.
There you go, hamburger with bacon. There you go, baby.
After months of doctor visits, Lindsay Hurd was finally told what was wrong with her little girl, Liana, and not a moment too soon.
Everything was kind of shutting down in her body. Everything was bad, and they told us if we would have stayed one more day at home, she probably wouldn't have made it through the night.
Liana had leukemia and needed to begin treatment immediately.
I just remember it felt like the world stopped. My son said I made this cry. He could hear me all the way out in the waiting room.
The treatment largely consisted of monthly chemo sessions using the drug vincristine. It wasn't easy for little Liana. She had blood clots, needed blood transfusions. She stopped walking and lost her hair. But the treatment saved her life.
Are you gonna smile or anything?
The soon-to-be 3-year-old is now in remission.
Though through it all, she still smiles and she still is happy, and she's a very big inspiration to me.
Until next May, she still needs monthly treatment. But now a national shortage of vincristine is leaving Lindsay and parents around the country wondering if their kids can finish chemo.
And if she'd stop it, it would just come right back. Why would companies want to take away a drug that we know is helping our kids? Like, now you got to stress, like, what are we going to do?
Well, Lindsay did do something. She reached out to a rep in Congress. That made Congresswoman Sydney Axtee to write a bipartisan letter to Health and Human Services to force attention on the issue and to get the 2 pharmaceutical companies to get the drug back on the market.
We've got to make sure that our kids are covered during this downturn in production so that no child suffers or literally possibly loses their life because of really business decisions that are apparently in some of these companies' eyes more important than our children's livelihoods.
Lindsay isn't just worried about Liana. She's now maybe even more concerned about all the kids across the U.S. who need the drug to survive.
I don't want my daughter to deal with not having it, but what about these other kids as well? You know, the ones that are almost done with treatment or starting or in the middle. It's like all of these kids need it. It's not just a personal issue or state issue, it's a nation issue.
In Shenandoah, John Kipper, 3 News Now.
A South Omaha staple, the GI Forum is not your typical restaurant. Yes, it has incredible food for reasonable prices, but it's owned by the community to serve the community. In South Omaha, you can find a place that has tastes from south of the border.
It's a family community place. Anybody is welcome.
Located near 20th and N Streets, the Omaha GI Forum is a veterans club. It was originally opened in 1957 as a place where Hispanic veterans could hang out, as they were not allowed in traditional VFW posts. Now it's a restaurant open to everyone. And through its restaurant and fundraising ventures, the chapter supports local military, their families, and youth programs in the area. Oh, they have a whole wall of honor here. The walls feature a museum of decorated military members who played a role in history, serving our country.
This young man right here, Miguel Key, was from Omaha. He was a Medal of Honor recipient. Oh, wow. So he died in Vietnam when he was 19 years old. The United States Navy just named a ship after him, which has never been done before. It's just part of who we are, you know, part of who we are.
It's great to have a place to celebrate them.
Yes.
But not only do you do good, but you also feed good, I heard. Food,
yes,
I hear, is
yes, we've got great food.
Awesome,
great food.
Awesome. The food, Mexican.
Hello, hola.
Hola. From rice and beans to tacos, their famous spicy chili, and enchiladas. They have it all here.
I usually get a chicken and a cheese enchilada when I get my enchiladas. and a cup of chili just on the side.
Yeah. And a tamale, and a taco, and a
yeah, where do you stop?
There's no stopping here. Todo esto para mí? Is this all for me? Is this all for me? Yes? You heard I was coming? ¿Supo que iba a venir yo? Muy bien. They even make menudo and tamales each day. ¿Estos todos los acaban de hacer ahorita en la mañana?
Ahorita acaba de terminar la señora.
¿Y luego de qué hay? ¿De chile rojo?
Son puros de chile rojo y estos son de queso con rajas.
Wow. Yeah, they usually take like all day to do. So again, some people only do it during the holidays. And here, it's a holiday year-round with tamales. The taste and smell, jaw-dropping. ¿También tienen mole? ¿Se le pone mole? Me comentó él que aquí la comida está muy rica porque muchas mujeres mexicanas con mucho amor lo cocinan. Sí. ¿Es cierto?
Sí. Las manos bien mexicanas.
Ándale. And people agree.
I love the community, the culture here, obviously the food. The margaritas are really good.
Just real clean, good food.
That is one good enchilada. I love all the cheese on it. These are really incredible.
And the chili is pretty spicy, so, you know, you might want to just, you know, go easy if you want to say.
So 1 to 10, how spicy would you say it is?
Oh, I'd say it's a 5.
A 5?
4 to 5.
I typically only do 2 or less. But it has a good flavor despite the heat.
It does. That's why I love it. Because the flavor's good, and then... Water.
See?
It builds up.
It does.
Yeah.
Can I get a glass of milk, please? Thank you. I think I'm sweating.
So the chili's hot?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It's hot.
It finally got to me. It's now like a 9. I think I need seriously like a...
Oh, you're perspiring. It is.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. The prices won't make you sweat, though. Everything on their menu is under $10, and here you can find tacos, tamales, and enchiladas for less than $3 each.
I'm just sitting there looking at you going, that girl goes to the gym a lot.
I have to go to the gym 6 days a week to make up for this. I think I'm tapping out, guys.
I had to.
Well, maybe one more, just a little bit.
We got to-go boxes.
Well, you can go ahead and check out the GI Forum for yourself at 20th and N Street. It's open every day except for Monday, and the kitchen hours are on your screen.
It's that time of year when holiday parties seem to pile up, and as you celebrate with coworkers and food, why not also give back? As you know, we've teamed up with the Alzheimer's Association, and they want to get the word out about a great way to get your employees involved this year. I'm joined now by Nolan Clare. So you and your team at Clare Senior Advisors, tell us what you're doing. You've done this before, too, when it comes to fundraising efforts.
Yeah, we just look for any opportunity we can to give back, especially to the Alzheimer's Association. We work with people every day that are suffering from this disease, and so we look for little opportunities where we can support them. So we had a group, a get-together of people we work with at our company, as well as community partners from across the metropolitan area. And to join this party, to join this group, we just simply ask that they make a free will donation to the Alzheimer's Association.
It really is a way that pretty much anyone can help out then.
Absolutely. No dollar amount is too small. You know, we ask people to, you know, a couple bucks up to 20 or 50 bucks. I mean, whatever people have available that they can give, it'll certainly make a difference.
So many organizations out there. Why was the Alzheimer's Association important for you?
You know, my team, we've worked with people suffering from this disease for nearly 50 years throughout our careers, and we've been impacted in a very profound way. And we hope and we believe that eventually we will find a cure. So we're here to help.
You've been active in the Alzheimer's Association in various ways. You recently heard from a researcher we had on recently talking about advancements when it comes to medication and care for patients. What did you learn when you were hearing from these researchers?
Yeah, so Dr. Fargo, recently I think the thing that made me step back and just feel excited about the research opportunities that we have is that he discussed the potential for disease-altering medication, disease-modifying medication. So we might, for the first time, be on the cusp of actually being able to find a medication that can help people in a real fundamental way attack this disease.
And really, as someone who is giving to the organization and part of the organization, those advancements happen because people are giving.
Absolutely. I mean, we solve major problems every day in this country, and the more awareness creates more funding creates the opportunity for a cure.
And we were talking about different big events with the Alzheimer's Association. They have the walks, they have all of these different events. Why are these smaller charitable giving opportunities also important?
Well, I think it takes gifts of all sizes. It's not just a major event. People need to incorporate charitable giving throughout the year. It shouldn't just be one time of year during the walk. You know, patients suffering from this disease, they're affected day in and day out, and so we can all take little steps to help along the way.
And I think you were saying it off camera when we were talking to who has not been affected by this disease or who will not be affected in some way, right?
Absolutely. If you don't know somebody today who's suffering from this disease, undoubtedly you, a loved one, a neighbor, a friend will be affected. So it takes a group effort and we all need to chip in.
Nolan, thank you so much. We also have information if you would like to find out better ways to help out with the Alzheimer's Association. We have that information right now on your screen. An entire school shut down unexpectedly, not for snow. Instead, it's for a virus going around. Officials haven't confirmed what it is, but the district spent the day cleaning. Senior reporter Jake Wazakowski takes us to Arlington.
Good hygiene. In our class, we sanitize every 5 minutes.
Emma and Timothy Halley and their friend Desmond Cole enjoy the afternoon. A day off school because of a virus spreading quickly through the halls. All three say they avoided the sickness.
I'm trying to stay away from germs and stuff.
Your little brothers are sick too. My little brothers are sick. I feel good for myself, but then bad for all the other people that got sick.
The Arlington Public School District says a stomach illness was increasingly getting to students. It started Wednesday. On Thursday, 70 called out sick. The district canceled classes to clean the whole building.
We took the proactive measure to just shut things down for today, get in and sanitize, and hopefully kids that have already been exposed will present with symptoms and be through this before the weekend is over with.
Three Rivers Public Health is looking at if the illness is a neurovirus, which can be contagious for up to 48 hours.
I think it was the best decision. You know, I think maybe we could have done it a little earlier. From what I hear, the virus has gone around for a couple days, but at the same point, they need to be in school. It's important for them to learn, so I think they did the right thing, seeing how it played out. And
the kids say they had to clean out their lockers and are making sure to keep themselves clean and healthy over the weekend.
None of them have had it, so fingers crossed it'll stay that way.
Even teachers and staff have been told to get what they need and stay out of the building throughout the weekend. The superintendent hopes that the virus will be out of the building and out of the systems of the students by Monday. Reporting in Arlington, Jake Wazakowski, 3 News Now.
All school activities Friday and over the weekend had to be canceled or postponed as well. A small town in Iowa is bringing back a piece of its history this evening. A life-size nativity scene made entirely out of wax will be on display as we inch closer to Christmas. 3 News Now reporter Sydney Gray went to Dunlap, Iowa, as she shows us the scene.
The thing disappeared, and I've always wanted to see it resurrected again.
81-year-old Don Thompson has been a part of this community since the 60s.
For years, Thompson hoped the famous nativity scene here in Dunlap would come back again.
For years, we wondered what they were, and finally one time we drove by there and seen what it was and stopped, and I'll always remember that first time that I saw it, and we've been back many times since.
This nativity scene, created almost entirely out of wax, was brought to life in the 50s by the Dunham family.
And the older generation just wanted it back because they remember taking their kids out there, walking from town 2 miles to go see it.
Grant money and donations from the community helped Ed Wendt and his friends bring it back.
I think it just brought them a little closer together and what organizations do to help the benefit of the town, and some of the people that move to Omaha or Des Moines or far away, they'll come back and they'll pass through, and they'll just bring part of their memories back.
Inside, you'll find Mary, Joseph, the 3 wise men, and of course, baby Jesus with gifts near his manger.
If you look at the new generation, there's a lot of them, they don't even know what the inside of a church looks like. So this kind of brings it back to say, wait a minute, there is something else to it other than Christmas presents. This is just part of that history.
There's also a single pew from a nearby church and a bench for prayer. Wendt says he hopes people will come in to reflect.
You know, we made it happen, and that was through the whole town. The whole town made it happen.
Roger Dunham's family built the original wax scene. He was the first to step inside the new space.
I brought Roger down here the other day, and he sat down in the pew, and his mouth just opened, and he was just taken in by it all. And I'm hoping other people will feel the same way.
In Dunlap, Iowa, Sydney Gray, 3 News Now.
Nativity scene will be open from noon until 10 p.m. daily through January. Pancreatic cancer often doesn't show itself until it's spread past the point of treatment. That's why doctors across the country, including experts at Nebraska Medicine and UNMC, are working to find ways to detect it earlier. And for some patients, like a Nebraska man we met, diabetes may be a key factor.
When you have to face your mortality, it's a bear.
Lester Shaw knows all about pancreatic cancer. He lost his wife in 2014, but he's not here to share her story.
I wouldn't have went if it wouldn't have been for my daughter. She kept pounding me and said, "You're losing too much weight."
I never thought that both parents would get the same cancer. I don't know what's worse, losing a loved one unexpectedly or knowing that it's coming and there's nothing you can do about it. Because you do get those extra moments, but they're bittersweet.
But Lester will have surgery. His pancreatic cancer was caught early because after seeing some atypical diabetes results, his doctor ordered a CAT scan.
I would say that's not standard, and I think it's actually really sharp on the part of his primary care doctor.
Dr. Kelsey Clutie is a medical oncologist. Nebraska Medicine and health centers all over the country are collecting blood samples from people who are considered to have a higher risk of developing pancreatic cancer. One thing they're interested in, diabetes and how it relates to the cancer.
We know that about 70% of people who get a diagnosis of pancreas cancer have some degree of diabetes.
Clutie says diabetes that arises because of pancreatic cancer is different than typical type 2 diabetes. It seems to come on rapidly, and people may be losing weight at the same time. Understanding this better could lead to catching it sooner.
If you could identify people with new onset diabetes who have diabetes possibly because of pancreas cancer, if you had a good screening test for those patients, that's probably the biggest opportunity to find this cancer early.
If we can get an early detection for people, it would help save people from going through what our family has gone through. And it's heart-wrenching to watch someone that you love go through that. The pain is just indescribable.
Lester's daughter Kylie is already enrolled in the pancreatic cancer study and has taken part in fundraisers. She lost her mom to this devastating disease. As her dad gets closer to having surgery this winter, she has these hopes for him and their family.
Most of all, survival. You can deal with the side effects as long as you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Kylie says if you ever feel uneasy about your health, get a second opinion. I know you're probably wondering about a link since both the husband and wife got it. The why is still not known. If you have a family history or new onset diabetes, as well as other factors, you may be eligible to take part in the study. We have information right now on 3newsnow.com.
After years of failing to pass substantial reform, Senator Luann Linehan hopes 2020 is the year major property tax reform passes. And she's not alone.
In general, property taxes are too high, and most citizens feel that spending, not just locally but statewide, that spending is too high.
The legislature hopes to reduce taxes while also ensuring all public schools in the state have adequate funding. The new plan would immediately help farmers and ranchers, reducing ag land valuations by 20%. To make sure schools aren't underfunded, the state would give every district in the state almost $700 per student, which is not the case now. She says if they don't pass something, people will leave the state.
Because they're not going to live in a state where they pay 3 or 4 times in taxes what they would pay in Colorado or Missouri or South Dakota or Florida or Texas.
The plan would also reduce taxes on residential and commercial property in the next 2 to 3 years. Linehan hopes a few years down the road they can move towards that goal, but that worries senators like Michaela Cavanaugh.
I just don't think that the current proposal is equitable.
She represents Central Omaha, which has no farmland.
My concern with the current proposal is that we are only addressing this issue for a certain population and not for everyone, and we are potentially doing it at the cost of public education.
Others like Senator Mike Moser, who represents Columbus, believes those folks in town will be okay with the plan as long as they get relief at some point.
This needs to be phased in because they don't want to make too much change all at once, because if you make too much change, you may really distort the system and cause problems.
Now, last year, lawmakers tried to raise sales taxes and cut tax exemptions, which the governor did not support. Because of Ricketts and other senators' disapproval, Linehan doesn't expect to try that this session. Reporting in the studio, John Kipper, 3 News Now.
One Omaha man is out thousands of dollars worth of tools after his truck was stolen, but the way it was stolen is prompting a warning from law enforcement. Reporter John Madden has more on a common mistake many are making this time of year.
It's a mistake that happens way too often. You leave your car running unlocked or unattended to warm it up, or you leave your car running while you pull up to, say, a gas station. But the end result of what could happen in this entire scenario makes it a terrible idea.
Less than 30 seconds and your car can be gone.
That's all it took for one Omaha man in his white truck parked at this gas station. He leaves his truck running and unlocked, and just seconds later, a suspect hops in and drives off.
Thieves will literally just wait around at those convenience stores and jump in cars when they see people do that.
The truck's owner runs out to try and stop the thief, but the suspect ends up hitting him with the truck before leaving the scene. This is a common problem the Omaha Police Department deals with, some which have a hard time understanding why people leave themselves vulnerable.
It's such an easy thing to be able to just take your keys out, walk in, and come back out.
But many still choose not to do that, with the majority of thefts coming from outside people's homes, grocery store parking lots, and gas stations. And if your car isn't stolen, you can still face consequences.
In the state of Nebraska, if you're leaving your vehicle running, or puffing as it's sometimes called, if you leave it on a public street, you can actually be cited for having an unattended vehicle.
Tips to keep in mind: lock your car while you go inside the store, stay inside your car while you warm it up, or invest in the proper remote start.
Be sure if you get a remote start vehicle or an aftermarket part, be sure it's one that disables the engine if it drives off without a key.
Doing so can help you avoid costly mistakes like this one. In Omaha, John Madden, 3 News Now.
And we want to make sure you know the victim in that video was not injured. Omaha police are still looking for the suspect. If you have any information on the stolen truck, contact police or Crime Stoppers. I like to see potholes pop up on Omaha streets, but one fix is turning some heads. Good evening, I'm Jennifer Griswold. The city of Omaha hired a contractor based out of Iowa to help with repairs. Reporter Ruta Olsenida met up with the contractors today to learn more about the bathroom product all over our roads.
You might have seen crews working on roads in Omaha the past couple weeks, putting down a white material.
You see a lot of people looking at us, checking us out.
So what is the material anyways?
And a lot of people think that it's something more complicated than toilet paper, but all it is single-ply toilet paper.
That's right, toilet paper, and a lot of it.
We're doing over 100 miles in the city.
Midwest Coatings was contracted by the city of Omaha for crack sealings. This 3-step process prolongs the life of asphalt pavement to avoid potholes.
Step 1 is to clean the cracks, and we do that with compressed air.
After cleaning the cracks are then sealed.
And then the 3rd step is to roll toilet paper over the top, because the material is about 350 degrees when it comes out of the machine.
The toilet paper keeps your tires from sticking to the hot material.
It's easy, and it allows our crew to keep moving, and it allows traffic to not have to wait for an extended period.
After a while, weather will erode the thin toilet paper.
First rainfall, it'll disappear, and no one will ever know it was there.
The contractors say that this is the only material that is efficient and safe.
Our only other options are sand, and that can be a hazard to the traveling public.
Because weather conditions have to be perfect, crews say it'll still take about another month to cover the entire metro in toilet paper. So it's likely that you'll still see some around on the roads in the coming weeks. Reporting in Omaha, Rudolph Snyder, 3 News Now.
Stay connected at 3newsnow.com.